started just in the last year and a half. It could have been something that's been going on for much longer. But there is something that started over the last year and a half, since this plague came into the world. And that's the curse that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving each and every single one of us literally, a live update of where you stand with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A live update. Jew or Gentile, male or female, religious or not, everyone is getting a status update live at all times if they understand what to look for. This is what to look for. The verse says, chapter 28, book of Deuteronomy, verse number 20. Yishlach Adonai becha et amehera, et hameuma, ואת המגערת בכל משלח ידיך אשר תעשה עד ישמדך ועד עבדיך מהר מפני רוע מעלליך אשר עזבתני. ידבק אדוני בך את הדבר עד כלותו אותך מעל האדמה אשר אתה בא שמה לרשתה. השם ישמור ויציל. For any one of you that understood what I said. Now I'm going to say it in English, don't worry. Accursed will you be when you come in, and accursed will you be when you go out. Hashem will send in your midst attrition, confusion, worry in your every undertaking that you will do until you are destroyed and until you quickly perish because of the evil of your deeds for forsaking me. Hashem will attach the plague to you until it consumes you from upon the ground to which you are coming to possess it. Hashem Yishmor. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, a person doesn't have to worry so much about the plague, but rather what was said before the plague. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, the curse is the confusion. The curse is the worry. The curse is that you can't go on with your life without watching another so-called expert on the internet or on TV talking about the coronavirus or the vaccine or some conspiracy or some theory or some reality or whatever it is, to create more confusion, to create more worry. Should I take the vaccine? Should I not take the vaccine? What should I do? Do I do it? Do I not do it? This is a curse in the Torah. This worry, you have this worry, you are currently being cursed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You are currently being punished by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that you're worried, the fact that you're confused, is Hashem telling you, you have a problem with me. And you have to fix it. What do you mean? Should I take the vaccine then? No, you fool. Oh, so I shouldn't take it? No! That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is the fact that you're obsessed with everything that's going on in the media, and you're so worried about it, you can't help yourself but talk about it every day, watch the news about it, share it, spread it. That's a curse. That's actually a curse in the Torah. And Hashem is attaching the plague to you until it consumes you. Meaning, if you do not do tshuva, this plague, not the coronavirus itself, but everything around it will literally destroy your eternity. That's the job of the Satan. That's the job of the Satan. Now, if anybody who's not convinced yet, let's go further. Let's go further. Where Kadosh Baruch Hu says these curses continue if a person doesn't get the message right away. If they saw Hashem took back his millions and they didn't do tshuva yet. If they saw tshuva music #1. If they saw the Rav Wasserman movie that we made. If they saw all these movies, they didn't get the message. Curses get worse. Curses get worse. What do they get? Hashem will strike you, he says. With what? All types of things where you will not be cured. And Hashem will strike you with madness, with blindness, with confounding of the heart. What kind of disease makes a person confused? What What kind of disease makes a person crazy? What kind of disease makes him blind too? Obviously, this is spiritual disease, Rabotai. The fact that you can't see the truth even though the rabbi is speaking to your face. The fact that you're too focused on the craziness that's happening in the political arena and you don't care what's happening in the weekly parasha. The fact that you're so consumed with the news in Hollywood, in the local political battles, in all of this nonsensical conspiracies out there, this is part of the curse. This is part of the curse. You're going crazy, it's part of the curse. You're blind to see the truth, it's part of the curse. You're not able to make a decision whether to take the vaccine or not because on one hand you think the vaccine is going to kill you. On another hand, if you don't get the vaccine, you won't have a job, so you'll starve to death. What should I do, Rabbi? You should do tshuva. You should do tshuva. That's what you should do. What do you mean? How do I do tshuva? Take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine? It has nothing to do with the vaccine. I know where I'm going to answer the question that everybody perhaps is thinking about what happened today apparently. Somebody says that Rav Kanievsky spoke and said that teachers that don't take the vaccine should be fired. I'll address that in a moment. But I want you to understand that all of the people that are spending their time following the virus or the vaccine or both or politics, they are part of the cursed. That's the curse of this week's parasha. That's happening before the end of times. Before Mashiach comes, whenever that may be, next week, next year, 10 years from now, whatever it is, this whole thing that's been happening in the last year and a half is part of the whole plan. And a person that's not realized that continues to live through their life, figuring maybe through material I'll have happiness. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, "V'ayita ach ashuk v'gazul kol hayamim ve'en Moshiach." Verse 29. Kadosh Baruch Hu says that a person will not succeed. They'll feel robbed all of their days. They'll end up wasting all of their money, all of their time, all of their efforts, and there won't be any savior. Why? Because you're spending all of your spiritual time working for the Satan himself. How are you working for the Satan himself? How is a person working for the Satan himself? You see, Rabotai, when a person is not paying attention to the details through the lenses of the Torah, it's very easy to think that everything I'm saying is nonsensical, doesn't make it's pulling all types of things out of context. When you look at things from the lenses of society, you could say this is coincidental, you can say this is incidental, you could say all types of things. But anybody that's truly paying attention to what I'm saying, what's quoted in the Torah, and paying attention to not only the society that's the world around them, but specifically to their life, and see how their life has progressed in the last year and a half, or perhaps regressed in the last year and a half, you'll see that this is 100% words of the living God. Words of Hashem himself. Not I'm saying it, I'm just repeating it to you. I'm just showing you what you were supposed to see on your own. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses people to give you a message. Not a prophet or the son of a prophet. But this is what you'll read yourself with literal what it says here. There's a plague. That plague is a curse. But part of the curse of the plague is the confusion. Part of the plague itself is the madness. Part of the plague itself is the obsession where you can't move forward. You can't move backwards. What is all of this? This is the Satan's plan the whole time. You see, Rabotai, in the beginning of the shiur I told you, the last generation before Mashiach comes has to pick a side. Everybody has to decide whether they're going to be righteous with Hashem or wicked against Hashem. Now, surely those people that are choosing to be wicked, Satan doesn't have to help them. Why? They're already helping themselves to gain home. But what about all those people that are trying to be righteous? Satan has to put pressure on them. So what is he going to do? Tell him, oh, don't put on tefillin? If the guy's religious for many years, it's not even a test. Tell him, oh, look at that girl. If the guy's watching his eyes, it's not even a test. How could he get the millions of religious Jews to fall off a cliff, a spiritual cliff, Hashem Yishmo? By entering their house and pretending to be one of the family members. How did the Satan enter everybody's house? Through this virus. Through this virus. You see, while everybody thought initially that the virus came into the world, it was a plague. Hashem's going to kill everybody. Everybody was so scared. This is the end of the world. Everyone's going to get infected. Within a year, everyone's going to die. And no one wanted to leave. No one wanted to believe. No one wanted to do anything. Right? But then we saw, okay, a lot of people are dying, but it's not exactly the whole world. Or even close. But that didn't stop everybody from talking about it nonstop. That didn't stop the rabbis from talking about it nonstop. Especially the ones that are trying to build themselves a stage. People you never heard of in your life. All of a sudden are getting 1 million views on their videos because suddenly they became some scientist. When that wasn't working enough, they joined the conspiracy theories. Started saying, oh, the New World Order, the New Batich, all types of nonsense. True, not true. They forgot that Hashem is behind everything. And Hashem has put the Satan in control of this specific plague. Why? You see, initially, he wanted to fool you to think, oh, this plague's going to kill everybody. But then he said, no, don't worry, it's the vaccine. So everybody jumped on, oh, so the vaccine, there's a cure. That's going to be our salvation. Donald Trump is going to give us the salvation. But then he took away Donald Trump. The so-called non-Jewish Mashiach removed. And then that salvation from the vaccine started becoming more and more problematic. Some people were saying it's not good. Some people are saying it's even bad. Some people are saying it's part of the big plan of some powerful people that want to kill people for no reason, like Bill Gates and like some other people that have nothing to do with their life, and they simply want the whole world for themselves. And guess what happened? People became obsessed with the whole topic. Non-stop watching one or another video about the vaccine, about the video, about the virus, how many deaths, how many alive, what's left, who's this, who's that. So while everybody was thinking, no, it's the virus, then no, it's the vaccine, no one realized that Satan was sitting in your living room, in your bedroom, in your bathroom, in everywhere, literally running your life, stealing your time, driving you crazy, stealing your mind, and you still think that you'll have time to serve Hashem properly. You still think that you're righteous, not realizing that Satan had his job cut out for him, and he's been doing a stellar job. He's entered every house, and since most people didn't even realize and still don't realize that this is what's happening behind all of it, they won't even know the answer to the question, why? Why is this whole thing the Satan? What is he? If he's going to bring a virus, but it's not going to kill everybody, what's the point? If he's going to bring a vaccine, but people are not going to be cured by it, or they're going to get sick by it, or it is going to cure people, but not everybody's going to take it, whatever circumstance you want to play, what's the whole point? If the virus is going to kill everybody, okay, we understand, but obviously Hashem wants to save people. He doesn't want to kill everybody. If the vaccine's going to kill everybody, then what's the point? Because obviously, not everybody's going to take it. If it's not going to kill people, it's really going to cure, then how come Hashem is not convincing the whole world to take the virus? Any argument that you have, you see that you're hitting a wall. Why are you hitting the wall? Because you're missing the point. You see, the Satan entered everybody's house not because of the virus, not because of the vaccine, not because it's going to cure, not because it's going to kill. None of that. You know why he's there? To get you to go against the big rabbis. to get you to go against Hashem. How? Everybody has to pick a side. Just like the Torah says, everybody has to pick a side, righteous or wicked. So what do people have to do? They figure, picking a side, that means I'm either going to keep Shabbat or not keep Shabbat. Wrong. That's a given. The picking a side, Rabotai, is picking Da Torah or not. You see what the world is doing right now, the frum and non-frum community that doesn't realize that Satan is literally inside the kollel, inside the yeshiva, inside the houses, inside everywhere, and no one is even paying attention to the guy wearing black full of eyes. Why? They don't have the capacity to see anything beyond, because part of the curse is the confusion, part of the curse is the blindness, part of the curse is the madness that the parasha told us. So the Satan's job is to make sure everybody's looking at the wrong thing. What is it? If I picked to take the vaccine because I heard Rav Kanievsky says to take the vaccine, because I heard that Rav Shalom Cohen said to take the vaccine, because Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, the Rishon LeZion, said to take the vaccine, if I heard that take the vaccine, then anyone that says don't take the vaccine, he's a horrible person, he's a terrible rabbi, he's an Erev Rav, he's an Amalek, and in the process, what do? They call a bunch of really good people, really good rabbis, religious Jews, Amalek, terrible people, heretics, which the Torah says, apikolsut. It turns the people that are pro the vaccine into apikolsim. Why? Because they are against everyone that's anti-vaccine. But don't think that that's it. Satan is not going to leave until he gets everybody into the trap. So all of the other people that says, so I'm right for being against the vaccine. No, you're actually in bigger trouble. Why? Because the people that are anti-vaccine are much bigger fanatics. They cannot help themselves but share more and more crazy stuff every day. They're much more fanatic than Christian missionaries. I wish we could recruit all the anti-vaxxers into Kiruv. We'd literally make the entire world do tshuva. I've never seen people as fanatic as this. And what are they doing? They're anti-vaccine because Donald Trump or Bill Gates wants to kill everybody, and the New World Order and the Bildergate, and true or not doesn't really make much of a difference. Why? Hashem runs the world, and they forgot that. And they think that the vaccine or the people behind it have the power, which is a form of idol worship. You forgot that Hashem runs the world. So what happens to those anti-vaxxers? They go against the tzaddikim that I just mentioned. Rav Shalom Cohen, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, and Rav Mazuz, and Rav Kanievsky. They're saying to take the vaccine. They're going against them. No, they're confused. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have all the information. They don't watch the internet. They're old. They're this. They're Erev Rav. They're Amalek. It's sad to see that they're getting paid because of the virus and this and that. And what has happened? All of the anti-vaxxers become apikos. Apikosim. Why? They forgot who runs the show. So instead of focusing on what you're supposed to, which is serving Hashem, and let Hashem run the world, they've been serving the Satan, playing into his tentacles without even realizing. Without even realize it's his hands that's massaging them. It's his hands that's choking them. It's his hands that's causing the confusion. So now you ask, wait a minute, so which side do I go with? I've already told you a million times. There are chachamim on both sides. Some say take it, some say don't take it. Right? As long as somebody does what the chachamim say, because they said they'll have the blessing, but that's not enough of an answer for some people. People want an answer for what happened today, supposedly. The Rav Kanievsky said, you teachers have to take the vaccine, or else get fired. Now, is that because Rav Kanievsky believes in the vaccine? I don't even think for a second to say that it's not because of that. You see, Rav Kanievsky doesn't believe in the vaccine. Rav Kanievsky doesn't believe in no vaccine either. You know what Rav Kanievsky believes in? Hashem. He knows Hashem runs the world. He's not worried about a vaccine killing everybody. He's not worried about no vaccine killing everybody. What he's worried about is Torah, because Torah is the cure to all of our ailments. And he knows that if the teachers don't take the vaccine, it'll get in the way of allowing the yeshivot to open. It'll get in the way of people learning Torah. So you don't want to take a vaccine. That means that you don't care enough about Torah, because it's obvious that the government is not going to let us open the yeshiva if you don't take the vaccine. So take the vaccine. What about getting sick? Don't worry about getting sick. That's Hashem's problem. Hashem's going to decide whether you get sick or not with or without the vaccine. You see, the only problem that you have is that you don't believe in Hashem. You believe in a vaccine, you believe in a cure, you believe in a government, you believe in an Iron Dome, you believe in everything but Hashem. Hence the reason why you're cursed in this week's parasha. You see, Rabotai Karim, the Satan has confused an entire generation to think he doesn't exist, and therefore he is in every single house right now that does not have themselves glued to Hashem, like Rav Kanievsky, like the Gdolei Ador on both sides. Some that are anti, some that are for. There are Gdolei Ador that know that Hashem is running the world on both sides. They're not infected. They're not wrong. They're 100% right. Why? Because they're using the Torah to decide what they're deciding. But the rest of the public is using the media. They have more faith in a news network, more faith in people that deliver Lashon Hara for a living, more faith in people they never met before, more faith in idol worshippers, more faith in people no one's ever heard of before than they do in the Gedolei Ador. Hence the reason why the Yetzer Hara easily convinced them to call the big rabbis of the world, the big tzaddikim of the world, wicked, thieves, corrupt, and so on and so forth. And that's how the Satan not only snuck into everybody's house, but literally turned everybody's blessings into a curse without them even noticing that they're cursed. She thinks she's confused because of Rav such and such. He thinks he's confused because of the video of such and such. They think they're confused because of the research of such and such. How come Rav Kanievsky is not confused? How come Rav Yitzchak Yosef is not confused? How come the people that are real tzaddikim are not confused? How come the people that are trying to be tzaddikim and are glued to the tzaddikim, they're not confused? They've never been confused, but yet you're confused. How come they don't have this curse that the vast majority of the world has? How come they weren't worried in the beginning and they're not worried today? How come? Because when you know that no one in the world other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, you don't have to worry about all of the other interesting parts of the story. But when you don't know that Hashem is the only one that runs the world, then all you have is worrying about all of the parts. Kind of reminds me of a funny story that we'll finish off with this. Where there was one time a fly who saw his friend, big one of these worms with like 1,000 legs. Saw him walking around, hopping around. And the fly looked at him with admiration. And the Marber Aglaim, that's how you say it in Hebrew, the one with the 1,000 legs, looks at the fly, his friend, he goes, "What are you looking at, Steve?" He goes, "No, I'm just admiring you, man. Amazing." "What did I do? It's amazing." "No, it's just amazing just how you're walking with all of those legs and just such rhythm, no problems." And as he's talking, all of a sudden, this Marber Aglaim falls on his face, doesn't know how to stand up, starts rolling around, he's, goes into a circle. Fly says, "Yo, what's the matter with you? You okay?" He goes, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but he goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I don't know, listen, I've been walking around my whole life. I never really thought about how do I walk with all of these legs until you mentioned it. Now that you mentioned it, I don't know, I'm all confused. I'm not sure which leg to use. I'm thinking too much of the details. As funny as that is, that's the life of all of the cursed people. They don't even know that they're cursed. But the truth is, Rabotai, you're only cursed because you started looking into the details of how Hashem runs his world. Instead of minding your business, go learn Torah, go do mitzvot, go do what Hashem says, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you alive. That's the only thing that's going to give you blessings. No one in the Torah said that you'll get a blessing if you become an expert in the virus vaccine news. No one in the Torah said that you'll become a special person if you come up with a cure for the virus. No one said that you're going to get anything for sharing either one of the news. But you know what the Torah said? You know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said in his Torah no less than a half a dozen times? You'll get all of the blessings of the Torah, which includes protection against your enemies that you know of and against the enemies that you don't know of. You'll get a blessing against all of the diseases and you'll never be sick. You'll get a blessing where you'll have everything completely crystal clear. You're never going to be confused. You're always going to know what to do. What is the secret? Do what Hashem says. Do what Hashem says, which means learn Torah, do mitzvot, do the will of Hashem, perfect yourself, finished. What about everything else? It's not your business. The virus is not your business. The vaccine is not your business. Whether it's a cure or a death trap is not your business. What all of the bad people and the good people are doing is not your business. That's Hashem running the world. And you have to worry about running your world, which has to get you out of this curse. So what do you do in regards to taking a vaccine or not? Simple. If taking the vaccine is required in order for you to serve Hashem, meaning they won't let you into the yeshiva, they won't let you into the synagogue, they won't let you learn Torah in peace, they won't let you teach Torah in peace unless you take the vaccine, then surely the obvious decision is to go take the stupid vaccine. And you have nothing to worry about. Why? Because you're doing it for the sake of the Torah. There's no problem there. You could take the vaccine. You can start celebrating that you took it if you want. Why? Because you didn't take it because you believe it's going to work or not work. You took it because it's going to help you serve Hashem. Because you know that if you don't take it, they won't allow you to teach. They won't allow your kids to go to school. They won't allow you to serve Hashem properly. So simple decision. If you need the vaccine in order to serve Hashem, it's an easy decision. But if you don't need to, you don't need to take the vaccine in order to serve Hashem. You can still go to the synagogue. You can still pray. You can still learn. You can still do everything. Your life is not connected to such entities and organizations and communities that are forcing it down your throat. Don't take it if you don't want to. You can take it also, but you don't have to. You don't have to. That's why Rav Kanievsky himself didn't take it. It's not that he believes or doesn't believe. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. There's no reason for him to take it because the vaccine is not helping or hurting his way of serving Hashem. He's still learning 7 pages of Gemara Bavli, 7 pages of Yerushalmi, the Zohar, the Sifri, the Shulchan Aruch, the Tanakh, and all of the other books every single day. So the vaccine is not going to help him learn more or learn less. Not taking the vaccine will not help him learn more or learn less, so there's no reason to take it because the Torah doesn't obligate him. You see, Rabotai, when you have the blessing because you follow the Torah, like the Torah says, everything is clear. When you don't, you're only going to have confusion. And the reason why people don't see this is because they're literally in the midst of the curse and they don't realize that they are the subject. They are the one that's being cursed. The Satan is inside their life as we speak. And they don't realize it. Why? They figure, listen, I'm going to go for my salvation from Dr. Such and Such. Oh, okay, so let Dr. Such and Such worry about your Gan Eden or Gehenom. You're not going for a salvation from the Torah itself. Hence the reason why the Torah is giving you a reality check that is going to wake up a lot of people that watch this with an open ear and open eyes, and Be'ezrat Hashem, enough mercy from heaven to get Hashem to get them to see the truth for what it is. Take the virus, no take the virus or the vaccine, that never mattered. The Yetzer Hara is trying to simply destroy you. Don't let him continue.